Welcome once again to the Ahern video podcast. Today I want to touch a little bit on successor planning. I'm receiving a lot of emails, a lot of inquiries about how do I pass the baton to my children? How do I pass the baton to my son? How do I pass the baton to my daughter? And then they give me their thoughts. And after I listen to their thoughts, first question I ask is your business part of your major retirement? 9 out of 10 times they say it is our retirement. The second question I ask, if there's no skin in the game for your children and there's no risk involved, if they shut the company down tomorrow, are you going to be able to survive? 9 out of 10 times they say no. And I get them to think. And here's the reality of any situation. First of all, the majority of the times, the founder of a company never institutes a successor plan. It's a very emotional process. It's a very difficult process. It's like planning your own funeral. But if you truly want to pass your legacy on to your children, then you need to plan for it. It's normally a 5 to 7 year process. One of the important things you have to do is you have to look at your children as employees, not as your children. And that's a very difficult process. I have 4 of my own plus a stepdaughter, so I have 5 children. But when I look at them from an employment standpoint, when they tell me about their specifics on their jobs, I look at them totally different and I give them different responses than I would as a parent. We have to do the same thing here. If you have multiple children in the business, there can only be one leader. So you, as a mother and father, or a father or a mother, have to decide who's going to be the leader. Very difficult process. Once you've decided who's going to be the leader, you then have to decide what kind of goals do they have. Do they meet the objectives of the business? 2, is it a possibility that if they take over the business, you're going to lose any key employees? 3, a successor doesn't necessarily have to be one of your own children. It could be an employee. But before you do any of these processes, the first thing you need to know is, what is the market value of your business? Not what your accountant tells you, not what your attorney tells you, but what is the market value of your business based upon economic times, based upon current market conditions. And the only way you're going to get that is to talk to someone that's been involved in a lot of transactions in the transportation industry that understands the market. So once you define what the purchase price is, then you need to define the terms and conditions of how you're willing to transfer the business to your children. 9 out of 10 times, here's what happens. Son and daughter say, transfer the business to us. We're going to pay you so much a month for 15 years. Well, where's the risk on their end? The answer is there is none. And so what you have to do is you have to transfer that risk or transfer some of that exposures back on their shoulders. And I'll give you an example. We did a very difficult successor plan for a company about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago. It was a company had been in business about 70 years. The owner was approaching 70 years of age. The owner had a son in the business, but said the son really wasn't competent to take over the business and run it daily and assure him that he's going to get his payout. Very difficult process for a father. They had 3 employees that were interested in purchasing the business, but the employees wanted to simply take over the business, have no risk, and send them a check each month and say, get out of your own business. So I went down there and I listened to everything they said, and the first question I asked each of the employees, are you willing to pledge any equity in your home, any of your 401ks? Any cash that you have in the bank, any other real estate holdings? And one particular person said right in the meeting, I'm not going to take any of that risk. So what do you think happened? That guy's now out of the picture. The other 2 said, you're absolutely correct. We need to have a certain amount of risk. The second thing you want to do is you want to know how to get some liquidity out of the company immediately. And so we were able to take some liquidity out of the company and still allow the company to cash flow, service debt, have a return on earnings. But it was a very difficult process for the owner, a very emotional process for the owner. And even when we finally got it accomplished, It took him about a month to really release. Now, if you have children in the business and you've gone through all of those components, then you have to set stages on when you're going to release the authority, how you're going to release the authority, when the authority is going to start. You also have to realize that the way you think doesn't necessarily mean that's the way your children are going to think. But we're in an ever-evolving economy. We're in an ever-changing environment. And knowledge is power, but youth is the future. So if I can impart any words of wisdom to you, if you're going to go through a successor plan, hire someone that's competent, hire someone that's done this, hire someone that understands the industry, but more importantly than that, make sure that your children, if they're going to take over the business, have an inherent risk. Because if this business is your retirement account and they fail, and you need that money to live on, it's not a good plan. Until next time, thank you for attending the podcast.